bringing me out the dark.
A lot of the things I'm going to teach you are not because I'm smart, but because I've made a ton of mistakes, because I'm super ambitious, and I grew up very poor. And so everything I'm teaching you today is based upon don't do that because I've done that. And so we're going to be teaching a lot of case studies, and because I know a lot of people don't have a lot of extra downtime to read case studies, I want you guys to know the Harvard Business Review has case studies. That's basically the essence of their MBA program. I fly through those each week. I study those and I apply them to my own businesses. And then twice a month I do talks like this to teach what works and what doesn't and to help you guys. But you're going to hear a lot of self-deprecating stories about how not to do it. So just take note of, wow, that was dumb. Don't do that. And it's like, or maybe we go to church and we hear a great sermon, but are we actually changing our lives? And so one of the things that John and I always do when we do talks is we want to give you guys a takeaway. And so man up, it's basically kind of a symbolic of 5 key principles here. Principle number 1 is we, as a man up attendee, as a man up person who embraces that mindset, we want to believe that you can make things happen. But we have to decide to make things happen, okay? So that's concept number 1. Concept number 2 here is accountability. I don't care if you're does anybody here work out in the gym ever? Anybody here go to the gym? Like for me, I have probably a C- workout if I don't have a partner. If I have a partner, somebody who's yelling at me, somebody who's holding me accountable, somebody who's saying, that's pretty weak, bro, then I tend to do better. So when you leave an event like this, I would encourage you to pair up with somebody, find somebody that can hold you accountable to actual quantitative results. So we're not just saying, I'm going to work harder, but maybe you commit, maybe you leave this event and you say, I'm going to make an extra 10 sales calls a day, and I'm going to do an extra 5 mailers a month. Well, who's going to hold you accountable? Who's going to know whether you did it or not? Ultimately, when you go to the bank, those guys tend to know. When we deposit our checks, they tend to know whether we're doing it or not. But beyond that, what are we going to do for accountability? The third concept is no excuses. And I'm not trying to give you a dramatic example to shock you into believing this, but my son was born blind in 2007. My best friend was killed in a car accident the year I started my business. So all these things happen. I paid my way through college. I got married. But I will tell you, we can work through these things. We can still achieve. We don't have to wait to achieve later. There's never a perfect time to do that. And the final 2 concepts is we want to understand what our limiting factor is. Maybe somebody here says, man, I'm really good at closing deals. I just need to get in front of more people. Maybe somebody else says, I really am not good at closing deals, but I'm good at getting in front of people. Maybe I get in front of people and they never buy anything, but I get in front of them. So maybe someone else needs. Maybe somebody else says, I leave voicemails and no one ever calls back. I don't know what it is. No matter how many voicemails I leave, no one calls back. Maybe somebody here says, I'm a voicemail wizard and I have the secret sauce and I don't want to tell you. But everyone here has a different limiting factor, okay? Some of us are limited by time and space. Some of us are limited. So we want to ask ourselves, what are our limiting factors? And the final concept is purposeful living, okay? Purposeful living. By that I mean we have to know what we're all about. Well, I have 5 kids, okay? Anybody here have any kids? So with your kids, don't we have some ballet and basketball and sports lessons and stuff? Well, how am I going to tell my kid, hey, you know what? I just agreed to a mega deal with Maytag, but I won't see you this month. You know what I'm saying? So I have to know what I'm all about. I have to know what I'm all about as a father, as a business person, as a salesperson, know what we're all about. And if we know what we're all about, then it helps us to put all this in kind of the right framework here. And the final thing I wanted to share with you guys about Man Up before I turn over to John to kind of conclude here is, at Man Up, where John and I came up with this phrase is, he and I have done road trips together. I don't know if you can relate to this, but you're driving with another dude. I like road trips with just guys, but you're driving, and basically as you're driving, somebody wants to pull over to go to the bathroom. And at that point, usually when we drive, somebody will say, just man up, which is code for causing some sort of kidney infection, but don't pull over, because that is weak. All right? A lot of guys that I know right now, we all have young kids. Some dudes don't want to change a diaper. I'm one of them. And a buddy will look at me and say, hey, man up. When I worked at Faith Highway selling commercials, I used to make calls. I went to my boss and I said, hey, I don't feel like there's any good leads. And he says, oh, yeah, there's a vast conspiracy to make sure you don't make any money. That's why Ron makes 4 times as much as you do. But hey, I've got a good idea for you. Why don't you man up and just call them all until they cry, buy, or die? I'm like, they cry? He's like, well, you could cry, but just get on the phone, make some calls till they cry, buy, or die. Now, Joey's brother was trained by the same guy, but he had this philosophy of like, hey, just man up, focus on what you can control. focus on what we can control here. So it's kind of making a decision today that we're going to find one thing at least today that we can improve upon. One core element. Maybe it's cold calling, maybe it's how to connect with people, maybe it's appointments. We all have a different limiting factor. And manning up is making a decision to say, I can't control the economy, I can't control the weather, I can't control my company's website, my business cards. Maybe there are certain things you can't control. Maybe as a salesman you're saying, oh, I just wish I had better business cards, or I wish our website was better, or I wish we had, but focus on what we can control, okay? Because there's certain things that we can control and obviously certain things we can't. So that is the core of the concept of man up.
Bringing me out the dark. Woo!